Welcome to another installment of Connect with Carla B. I am sitting in an office that I've sat in before a number of times and that I visited for many different reasons over the years with someone in our community who is a champion, who is a strong advocate, and who is a political leader. So I'm trying to think of who am I going to use as the inspiration for his introduction? And it simply has not come to me, and that's okay also. So then, Senator Rouson, would you please introduce yourself to the audience in a way that would allow them to get to know the most important things about you, that you wouldn't want to leave a room and not have somebody not know about you?
That yesterday, on my way home from this office, I passed through Meltan Heights.
What's Meltan Heights?
Melrose Tangerine Heights.
Okay, got you.
16th Avenue South and 30th Street.
Okay.
Where I grew up from 5 years old through law school. And I do that periodically just to stay connected, to stay grounded, to remember the role models. Not only my father, who was a great role model, but the leaders in the neighborhood, like L.D. Brown Sr., who was principal of Jordan Elementary, like Emmanuel Stewart on the other street corner, who was principal of Gibbs, like Dr. Ralph Wimbish, whose wife was C. Bet Wimbish, the first black on the city council, like Cecil B. King, who used to take us fishing, and they named the St. Pete College Midtown building after him. He sat on the board of trustees for St. Petersburg Junior College.
I'm not going to overlook the fact that you had an interstate here named after C. Bet Wimbish.
Yes.
So,
but it was because of my experience as a child. Earl Davis, one block away on 17th Avenue South and 31st Street. Dr. Gilbert Leggett, a dentist, who was on 16th Avenue South and 31st Street. When he died, they put next to his DDS designation, Civil Rights Activist. These were my role models growing up. Dr. Orion T. Eyre, Sr., whose son runs the Retina Institute and is also a physician on First Avenue North. I pass through there periodically just to stay grounded, to remember my roots, to remember what inspired me as a kid to want more, to do more, and to be involved and respect community and neighborhood.
And what would you once said about you?
That I cared, that I had not only passion, but I had compassion, that I wanted to be known for helping others, that I wanted to use my life as an example to inspire other people to overcome setbacks.
Was politics ever in your trajectory? If we were to go back and look, is this what you thought you would be doing in addition to being an attorney?
I got the bug for politics in college.
Okay.
I met Julian Bond and John Lewis at the home of James B. Sanderlin when I was a kid. And I always appreciated the way they talked political strategy. And I used to sit there soaking it up.
How did you end up in the room?
Well, because Jim Sanderlin was a good role model.
Okay.
And they hired me and a couple of other teenagers to work for the Voter Education Project, VEP. And we were going around getting people engaged in the voting process.
Wow. I don't even know why, when things work, why we don't continue them. Meaning, because it makes me curious, do we have something like that for teens today? And if not, I'll be curious as to why not, because those, here it is, you're talking about that single act allowed you to be in spaces that other teams weren't in, those rooms, hearing what I call, I don't want to call it the backdoor but those rich conversations with these community leaders. Julian Bond is all the way from New York, isn't he? From Harlem?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, I just know that that's one of the famed civil rights individuals.
That's right.
So
he
then
ran for president.
Coming right here to I want to almost say little old St. Petersburg. The old St. Petersburg, believe you me, y'all, has its footprint on history in so many ways.
That's right.
So it would make sense as people get to know more about the city that I love so much, why they would make their way here to St. Petersburg. But here you were in the room.
I remember the day when A.D. King, Dr. King's brother, came to St. Petersburg.
Wow.
It was during the sanitation workers' strike.
Mm-hmm.
You see that picture over there to the right? That guy named Lonnie Donaldson with Gypsy Gallardo and me. Uh-huh. Lonnie was a political operative here too.
Oh, wow.
And he was very strategic in getting people involved in the political process. He was a grassroots get out the vote guy. You couldn't run a field campaign without engaging Lonnie Donaldson.
Who's our Lonnie Donaldson today?
That's a good question. Mm-hmm. We've kind of lost our way.
Yeah.
Which is something I've been thinking about lately because I have 3 years left in politics, in elective office at least. And I need to start grooming.
I'm not going to let that slide. You said that you didn't say in this position, you said in elected office. Am I to understand that this is the end of the road and the beginning of something new that may have political involvement, but will not be in an elected capacity after 3 years? Is that what you're saying?
Close to that.
Okay, because you know what they say from your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah.
But okay.
But I've had a good run.
Yeah, you have.
And I spent 5 years as president of the NAACP here in St. Peter. Mm-hmm. We had big victories. In fact, that picture up there, that photo on the right of the Florida Senate seal is a press conference on the steps of City Hall. That's Ken Welch standing next to me. And Pastor Murphy and Cynthia Johnson and Clarence Welch and some other leaders in the community like Ernest Billiard. That's when we were calling for the chief of police, Vines, to step down because he referred to a black arrestee as an orangutan. Mm-hmm. And he did step down. I've been involved in things politically for a long time. 8 years in the Florida House of Representatives. Currently 6 years in the Senate.
Wow.
That's 15 years in elected office. And I do believe it's time to train new blood.
Right.
To come behind me.
What, so this idea of training new blood, have you seen that there is this need for cultivation of of young people? Is there a need for cultivation? Meaning, are they here hungry and just needing someone to take the hand and say, hey, I'm going to give you the hand that I got, because you somehow, I'm really still blown away, and I'm going to make sure that I get copies of these photos to include, but I'm blown away that you were able to sit in on it, and just because you decided to do some civic engagement, because at some point either your parents insisted or you had the passion and you were able to get the leadership?
Well, I had good role models, both in the house and in the neighborhood.
Right. It sounds so rich.
My father was secretary of the local NAACP chapter.
So here we go.
When Morris Milton was president of it.
So yeah, it came natural. Yeah. What did your mom do?
She was a school teacher. She taught at 16th Street Junior High, which is now called John Hopkins.
Yes.
And then when Lakewood High School was built in 1966, she was one of the first black faculty in 1967 to join Lakewood. She taught there for many years until 1978. So my parents were both educators. They taught us that education was the way out. I really wanted to be like Michael Jordan. I wanted to be like Emmett Smith. I wanted to be like Arthur Ashe.
Wow.
I wanted to be like Mike.
How many siblings did you have?
3 sisters and 1 brother.
Five of y'all.
Yeah.
On a school teacher's salary and what was your father's professional?
He was a guidance counselor, chief of guidance counseling at Gibbs Junior College. Then when integration came along and they closed Gibbs Junior College, he went to St. Pete Junior College and became director of student campus life.
Okay. And I want to use this time to ask you, do you remember how we first connected? What's your first memory of meeting me or connecting with me?
It was a dark night. And I saw this moonbeam shining on this glorious...
Is that a no? You don't remember, but you could create a story?
That's a no. I don't quite remember, but I could create a story.
Maybe then tell us about maybe a memory you have of connecting with me, because I know I have several.
When you had your shop, and I remember stopping through there several times.
Yes.
And you had moved 2 or 3 times in the course of 3 or 4 years.
5 years.
And I was impressed with your entrepreneurial spirit that was balanced with community care and community concern. That's what I remember about connecting with you. And hearing your name, Carla Bristol. I knew that I needed to make an acquaintance.
Thank you. And thank you for all the times that we've been able to sit down. Part of what this podcast is about the importance of connections. And on more than one occasion, in varying ways. So 2 memories that come back to me immediately is, of course, the time I had the young man that was working for me that had challenges with addiction. And he flat out came out and said, I need help. I don't know what to do. And I said, let me make a phone call. And I called you and you're like, bring him by my office right then and there. And you then told me, you said, hey, he can pull the rug over your eyes, but he can't pull the rug over my eyes. Step out the room. Y'all had the real conversation. But I knew the fact that you, and at that time you were already a state senator, but you still took the time for this young person that you didn't know. And first of all, you answered the phone when I called. So let's start there. And then I was able to get him to you right here in this very office with the green carpet.
Well, that's because I had somebody who did it for me. I show people this sometimes because at a time when I was being kicked out of my house and divorced, this priest, this black Catholic priest, Father George Clements, took me in. And I actually lived with him for about 7-8 months in Chicago, trying to find myself. So it's natural for me to reach out and help somebody else because someone reached out and took a chance on me.
Thank you. Sometimes, a lot of people, it's not unusual though, that for some people when they've made it, they're so excited that they've made it, they forget all the other people who could benefit from the journey or the experience. So I'm grateful that that's something that you hold as something that's important.
Well,
for you.
in the program of recovery, there's a couple of sayings. One is the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. And the second that I remember most often is, I keep what I have by giving it away. This program of recovery is a program of attraction, not promotion. I can't sell you the benefits of it, but I can live my life in a way that you might be attracted to the lifestyle of recovery. I'm 25 years, 5 months, and 1 week clean, without a drink, a drug, or a smoke. And it's only through the grace of God and the 12-step program of recovery. And that's why I stopped to help people, because someone stopped to help me.
Yeah. The other memory I have was, let's see, so you called me and said, hey, I want you, I'm now chair of the agriculture committee in Tallahassee, and I would love for you to come up and do a presentation about St. Pete Youth Farm. And then I said, hey, if I'm doing a presentation about St. Pete Youth Farm, that means I'm bringing youth with me. And so I tell you, I'm going to bring these young people up, and we decided we're piling in a car, we're driving to Tallahassee, and you said, keep me posted on when you arrive. And we arrive and we're in our room, and you said, hey, do you think they want to tour the Capitol now? Like, of course, we're on our way. But you waited for us, and you gave us the VIP treatment, and you made every single young person feel like we had the exclusive VIP pass, because it's like, nope, this is the elevator that we ride to avoid everything. This is and we had like this exclusive access before having to come the next day and present. So Thank you for that.
Well, it's important for our young people to see, experience, and touch their representatives, and to know what goes on in the Capitol building. You know, we made Tallahassee hard to get to on purpose. That's why you have to take the time to visit with people when they do come, because it's a sacrifice.
Wow.
And so I've honored that for all the years I've been in that building up in Tallahassee.
I also, as I'm sitting here, have the memory of being involved in the movement in St. Petersburg towards ensuring that there's equity after the George Floyd murder, and being on the corner, one of these corners here, maybe right here, fifth, right?
Right.
That's Fifth, where there's a colorful circle, and then here comes you, because your office is right here. But you could have walked the other way. You could have, and you had no issue with standing present with myself and all the other people, but so many young people in solidarity. Why was that important for you to do?
Because it takes all of us. It takes the activists. It took Malcolm counterbalancing Martin, and they both together got things done. Malcolm would scare them up. Martin would clean them up. And I wanted to honor the work of the young people. I wanted to honor their expressions, their feelings, their passion, and let them know that it's okay. I also wanted to bring a calming spirit, so that in the event one might have gotten out of line, I could have talked them down off the ledge, to make sure that no one got arrested.
Right. And I mean, that's part of the importance of my involvement. I know that if I'm involved, people say, well, I know it's not. If Carla's there, it means that it's not. It couldn't be bad and her be present for it. But to ensure that people had that viewpoint that was different than getting it from a stranger, it was for me. It was ensuring that any of the narratives that would be issued, I had a first-hand account to say that's not really what went down. Actually, I was there.
Right.
I walked. I was just talking to Jeff Shore yesterday, and I said to him, I said, I never forgot that while I was marching and protesting in the streets of St. Petersburg, that you actually gave me the key to a townhome downtown. Because you said, Carla, where are you using the bathroom while you're protesting in these streets? And I said, whatever. And he goes, here's a key. Here's the code if you need to use the bathroom. So, I mean, it's those people along the way when you're journeying, that hard journey, that are important. So to Senator Rouson, a senator, seeing us, standing with us, and being able to share some words of inspiration, that's critical.
It does take all of us, and everyone can't march.
Facts.
But you can write letters, you can email, you can telephone, and you can support those who put their bodies on the front line and subject themselves to arrest. You can bond them out. You can play a role.
And in Florida right now, there's so much happening that seemed to create the type of change that would appear to take us backwards. What is your understanding of where we are at this time in history?
We're at very difficult crossroads. Decisions have to be made, and decisions are being made. It's important for history that we show up and be accountable while we have the charge. I've tried to do that, and I've evolved over the years. I used to say I wear boots because the door, if it doesn't open, I have to kick it open. But I've learned to kick these days without my boots. I've learned that I can get small victories on the peripheral as opposed to huge, broad changes of policy. I've been in Tallahassee 15 years. I've never had a Democrat in the governor's mansion. I've never had a Democrat in the House speakership. I've never had a Democrat in the Senate presidency. The Republicans have had a trifecta for 15 years.
Wow.
That told me that I should not be just standing in the back rows,
right, waiting,
lobbing bombs, attacking. What I should do is find the common ground, and in that, get the victory. So issues like substance abuse and mental health, which know no party,
right,
but no human cost. Things like criminal justice reform, which knows no race in particular, but affects human beings. Things like education policy. That's where I get my victories.
It's you made me remember coming to Tallahassee specifically to advocate for trauma centers in our community, and showing up in Tallahassee and reaching out to you, and same thing, open door, open office, and we were able to come in, sit down, state our case. So you have a history of making yourself available for the community and issues that are important to the community. So it doesn't surprise me that you would.
The community supported me. I was projected not to win my first public election. In fact, I was projected not to win that election.
Wow.
The article says, old guard ousted. I ran against a woman who had been president of the NAACP, the late, great Garnell Jenkins. I ran against her. She had been president for 21 straight years. Had turned away all potential opponents. And they said I couldn't win. Out of 300 votes cast, I won by 16 votes. And for 5 years, I ran the branch. Then when the seat came open, when Charlie Crist was governor, and he came down here to announce that Frank Peterman was going to be the new Secretary of the Department of Juvenile Justice, vacating the seat, requiring a special election. Ernest Williams, city councilman, had been running for an entire year already. Charles McKenzie, the Reverend Charles McKenzie, had been running for about 8 months. I got in 90 days to go in a down and dirty special election. And I won by taking 43% of the primary vote.
Wow.
They said I couldn't be a state senator, that no one from St. Petersburg, not Rudy Bradley, not Doug Tim Jameson, not Frank Peterman, could beat what's always been a Tampa seat. Jim Hargett from Tampa had this seat for 8 years. Les Miller had it for 8 years. Arthenia Joyner had it for 8 years. They said I couldn't win. But I put my head down, I did the work, and we went to bed August 30th, of 2016. 61 votes ahead on election night. And after 2 recounts, 37,000 votes recounted. They found 14 more votes for me. And I won by 75 votes out of 37,000 cast. So I've had some tough races, but I've hung in there, and the people have supported me. That's why I owe this community so much.
And it's, if I were to ask you, during the time that you've been an elected official, what is something that you've been able to do that makes you the most proud? I'm sure there are many, but what comes to mind for you that really makes you proud? That's something that, because I always talk about, I'm never going to be an elected official, because I feel I can accomplish so much without being an elected official, right? By maintaining relationships with elected officials, etc., because that's not my passion. But what's something that you've accomplished that you had to be an elected official to accomplish?
It's a good question, because like you say, there's so many different things. But I think my greatest accomplishment is being a collaborative force, learning how to work with the other side of the aisle while not losing my own principles, my own standards of what is important to community. Building a level of relationship and trust with those in power, so that I can share the power. I'm the first Democrat in 20 years to be vice chairman of the Powerful Appropriations Committee. It gave me an opportunity to really influence the budget. So I'm proud that I've been able to be a collaborative force.
I would be remiss if I didn't speak about your beautiful wife, who I just saw on, I think it was Tuesday, at the foundation. She's looking as gorgeous as ever.
Well, thank you.
Yes, I saw her.
I think she made a good selection.
She's gorgeous. You made a good selection.
We've been trying to peg the date that I first saw her. I remember the event.
Right.
Renee Flowers had just won the city council seat.
Okay.
To replace Ernest Filial, who was retiring.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a farewell party for him at the Regents.
Okay.
Regency Oaks, the place on 34th Street that's now an assisted living facility.
Got it.
They used to have like a ballroom in there. And Renee was having this farewell party for Ernest Filial, and I walked in and I saw this tall, dark, lovely lady.
Yeah.
And I asked several people if they knew her, and no one knew her. She was pretty new to St. Pete.
Oh, wow.
And then I asked a guy who happened to be her cousin,
and
he ran down her pedigree. And I found the courage to go over and ask her to go to lunch with me. But I told her I could help her find a job and send me her resume.
Right.
She never sent the resume.
But she did agree to lunch.
She did agree to lunch.
Which makes how many years married now for the two of you?
Well, October 9th will be 24 years.
And you guys have a blended family.
Yes, she had a son that was 5 years old when I met her, and I had a son that was 4 years old. So we started off with 2 boys, and we've had 3 together. So we've raised 5 young men.
Wow.
And just this week, we dropped Jared and Emmanuel off to their senior year at Florida A&M University, reminding us of how far we've come.
Wow. Any grandchildren?
Yes, we have about 7 grandkids.
How is grandparenthood?
It's wonderful.
Oh.
Except I do look forward to downsizing the house.
Okay.
That's one of the struggles that Angela and I have right now. She wants to keep the house so that the grands could come and stay.
Right.
And I'm trying to downsize to let the grands stay where they are. I'm teasing.
No, they, a sense of place is so important. And especially if you think back, I mean, look at how fondly you talk about your upbringing here in St. Petersburg. There's something to be said for that. And then I think challenges more than most for you, for sure, has been, you touched on it, the path of addiction. And how were you able to face that not being an anchor and overcoming what would look to some as a stigma, or no, he cannot do this because he was an addict? How did you, in the face of that, because I know that exists, how were you able to address it? Because I know it will help others who might feel they need to hide something versus make it public.
I made a decision that was just what I used to be. I'm not that anymore. And it was the addiction that bootstrapped me. So why not let the recovery embrace me? I decided that folks already knew, and so it didn't hurt me to tell them. I was always taught in this program that if I shouted from the podium or the pulpit, you can't hurt me by whispering it in the back of the room. So I told my truth. In fact, at the first debate, when I ran for NAACP president, the smear campaign was, that Darryl Rouson's home, and he used to be a crackhead. And if he wins the presidency of the NAACP, they're going to have AA and NA meetings in the headquarters. And when they would come tell me that, I would say, well, if it's truly a community organization relevant to today's issues, why haven't they had these kinds of meetings before?
Right.
And then when I ran for state representative, one of my opponents stood up and said, I've served you well for 7 years on the city council of St. Petersburg. Never a blemish on my record. But before I tell you about me, let me tell you about Darryl Rouson. He's a crackhead. He's been arrested 2 times for DUI. He's this, he's that. He read my whole inventory. And then he came and sat next to me at the head table. And I leaned over and said something unpleasant. But it was my turn to get up and speak. And I looked at the audience and I said, ladies and gentlemen, everything my opponent said about me is true. It's absolutely true. But this is a special election. And it's not special because Governor Christ has elevated Frank Peterman to become the new Secretary of the Department of Juvenile Justice, vacating the seat, requiring a special election. That's not what makes it special. What makes it special is the election is March 25th, 2008. And for those of you who are believers, that's 2 days after Easter Sunday. So we are campaigning, we're politicking, we're running through the season of Lent, the season of redemption, the season of resurrection that leads to new life. How dare a man stand up and suggest that another man can't become something because of what he used to be? Well, they gave me a standing ovation.
And put the shame and embarrassment. Yeah. Put
so
the shame and embarrassment.
That I needed to face my truth. And if I'm walking life with integrity, what am I scared of? What's the worst case scenario? Is I lose the election.
Right.
So guess what? I go home.
Right.
And home ain't a bad place to be.
And so we're sitting in this office, and you've shared with me the story about why this office before. I don't think anyone gets to come here to visit you and you not share why you've chosen this building and this office. Would you mind sharing for our listeners?
Well, the building is owned by George Rodert. Rodert got me my first job out of law school. I'll never forget calling up Judge Sanderlin, telling him that I'm graduating and I need a job. He said, call George Rodert. George was on the board of directors for Gulf Coast Legal Services, and he got me a job there. He followed me throughout my career. In fact, when I left the state attorney's office after becoming the first black assistant state's attorney in the history of Pinellas County, he wrote me a 10-page letter called The Do's and Don'ts of Private Practice. And that became my Bible. When I got addicted to drugs and left the state to pursue treatment, he followed me through my treatments and supported me. And I knew that I could come back here and start over. So November 30, 1998, I flew here. He gave me a little cubbyhole right outside this door. And I slept there for 2.5 months with my 4-year-old son, washing off in the public bathroom of this building before people came to work. So this building has special memory, and I wanted to honor my friend who has been there for me all these years. So it reminds me of from whence I've come.
Thank you for that. Were you meant to be an attorney? Because I feel like a lot of how you've been able to navigate things can also point to you having a law degree. Meaning, because all these things are about being able to show balance, debating on issues, and even the level of chutzpah, they would say, to get up there and accept what is coming in while paint a picture of the reality of the situation.
Well, I remember feeling injustice issues from grade school. But I really liked drama club in high school. I was president of the drama club at Bishop Barry, Notre Dame. And I was in every play they put on. My famous role was Talbot Twillingham, the black-coated top hat villain in a play by Samuel French called No Mother to Guide Her or More to Be Pitied Than Censored. And when I got to college, I wasn't tired of acting, so I joined the thespian troupe. And my famous role was I played Walter Lee in Lorraine Hansberry, Raisin in the Sun in New Orleans. And I really wanted to go to Hollywood. I didn't really feel law school. But my political science professor reminded me that there was a big Screen Actors Guild strike going on.
Oh, okay.
I think it was 1976. And directors, producers, actors were starving. She said, "Why don't you go to law school instead of Hollywood?" I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, think of the courtroom as the theater. The judge is the director.
Wow.
The lawyers are the producers. The witnesses are the actors. And the jury is the audience. And you're all trying to recreate a set of facts that you want the jury audience to believe." I said, "Wow, I can kill two birds with one stone. I can act in the courtroom and still get paid for it."
Is there anything that you haven't accomplished that has eluded you?
Wow, that's a deep question. I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Give it thought. Maybe someday you'll come back and say, Carla, here's what has eluded me.
Well,
that, like you were saying, in 3 years, when you clearly make time to wreak havoc or whatever it is you're going to do next.
This has eluded me.
What is that?
My story.
So being able to get it down on paper. When should we expect the book? Or the play?
Maybe
perhaps.
by the first of the year.
Okay, or the play, perhaps.
Well, I've thought about that too. It could be a good screenplay.
It could be or we have Studio 620 right down around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm sure Bob Devin Jones would enjoy and appreciate.
That was me playing the preacher role, the elder role in the Black Nativity.
Okay.
That we used to do for 5 straight years at the Palladium. Remember?
Yes. So this is so it's in you.
It is.
So I'll know when birdies are whispering, I'll be like, I know somebody that could play that role. I know somebody that that feeds their creativity. So yeah, because creativity and having creative outlets are so important for the totality of who we are. So I am grateful.
I'm not proud of every step of my journey, but I'm no longer embarrassed by it. And it gives me joy to be able to talk about it today.
So I am grateful that you have taken this time. It's not unique or special. It's not exceptional because it's me. It's because it's what you do all the time. But I'm glad we were able to capture it in sound for others who may not know this Darryl Rouson or this Senator Rouson, who may come to know you in a different way. So thank you. I'm sure we've left folks with a few bits and bytes that they could chew on until next time.